Welcome, class of 2027, to junior night. We're going to give everybody just a couple more minutes, maybe a minute or two, as our classmates come on in. So just give us 1 minute, maybe two, and then we'll go ahead and start our presentation. All right. It looks like people have kind of all got in here. We might get a couple of people at the end. But again, welcome to Junior Information Night for the class of 2027. We're so excited to have you here. Good evening. Again, thank you so much for being here. Class of 2027, we're so excited to start the college search process with you. As counselors, this is truly one of our favorite events of the entire year. And I wholeheartedly feel that this is our big kickoff to your college application process and seasons, even. The goal of tonight is not to give you so much information that you're overwhelmed, because it's a lot of information. Bear with us. The evening will be about an hour, hour and a half long. But we have some amazing presenters. We want you to start getting your wheels turning and really thinking about what options you might have. Hopefully, after hearing from our amazing experts this evening, you will have a better idea of what you want, or maybe even be open and open your horizons to something better than, or something that you've never thought of before. Thank you to our expert of panelists. We have some amazing volunteers that come with us every single year. Before I go over all of that, I would first like to go over the Claremont High School counseling team. And that is my wonderful team. Mr. Troche has counsel. Oh, that is the wrong slide. I apologize. Mr. Troche has the students with last names of A to CHOI. And I have students with last names of CHOJ to GOM. Mrs. Ceccarelli has GOM to LIN. Miss Duzick has LIO to Park. Mr. Anderson has students with last name PARL to SMI. Miss Silva, who is our newest addition to our counseling department, and we all adore her, and we are so lucky to have her, has students with last name SMJ2Z. And then finally, Miss Evelyn Diaz, who has our students with last name, oh, sorry, she is our student support counselor, and works very closely with our 504 students. So tonight, our full presentation will be posted on the website after tonight. I would say probably give us until Monday, along with slides and the presentation. Please utilize the chat that we have. It is an incredible resource. Most years we have upwards of, I don't know, 200 questions on there. So it is very important that you guys are putting those questions that you might have in that chat. This is your time for the experts to answer those questions. We were in classrooms the other day with our juniors, and I told them, like, I know a lot of things. We had a parent tell us once that we have to know a lot of stuff, which is very true. And because of my limited size brain, right? So that I told the students, that's why we have the experts here tonight. Because normally if your student comes in, it's a very specific question. I can't always answer it, but we can look online. But tonight, these experts are here. So that's what we're going to do. As we move forward, keep an open mind, right? Kind of like I already said, of this might be something that you haven't thought of before, but it's like, wow, that could be the right place for me. It's at least worth looking at. So I have on here our important dates and deadlines as we move towards your going deeper into your junior year. This will also be posted on the website. And crazy enough, juniors, I'll get to it in just a minute, but this will also be given to you in your classes when we register you for senior year in less than a month. All right, so these important dates and deadlines really quick. Tonight, junior night, you're already starting that preparation for yourself, which is awesome. Then for if you're doing any testing, which we will also discuss this evening, those registration deadlines are for February 14th for the ACT, so tomorrow for the February 14th ACT. February 2nd, like I said, we're going to start going into classrooms and registering you for your senior year of classes. That February 14th ACT. February 27th is the registration deadline for the March 14th SAT. And then February 17th to 26th, counselors are going to be meeting with you one-on-one to discuss your senior year schedules. So keep note of that. And then finally, that last date on here is that March 6th registration deadline for the April 11th ACT. All right, next I'm going to move on into our presentation on school links, which is a very helpful resource, and we'll get into that in that college application process. So I'm going to hand this on over to Mr. Jeremy Drosch.
Thank you, Ms. Vogel. So I'm going to very briefly go through School Links and talk about what it is, what students are doing with it, and how they're going to be utilizing it over the next year and a half for the college application process. This is a very brief introduction. At the end, I'm going to show you where you can find a ton of videos and a lot more information on School Links to help your student get through this process. So SchoolLinks essentially is a college and career readiness platform. It is designed to help students explore colleges and explore careers. In their senior year, this is also how we will manage their college applications and help them keep track of deadlines, submit materials. All of that will go through SchoolLinks. So students, if you're listening, it's really important you get used to using SchoolLinks over the course of the next year. We're going to talk about how to get into School Links. The link right here is sorry, that's my dog, apps.schoollinks.com. And that's also located on the counseling website, and I'll show you where that's at as well. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm sorry about that. So when you log in to SchoolLinks, when you use that link, this is the page you're going to get into. And this is actually where a lot of students will have trouble because they'll go right to the email password. And that is not how we log into SchoolLinks. We make it easy for students and they will log in with their Google accounts. So if you're using your iPads, if you click login with Google on that right-hand side of the screen, it will automatically log you in and it is no issues whatsoever. When you log in, you're going to see the next page. There we go. And the most important thing for you to be looking at on this page is going to be your to-do list. That whole right-hand side is a to-do list. And on any of those, if you click that little down arrow on the right-hand side of each one of those to-dos, the next slide will show you what that looks like. It's going to drop down and give you a link to complete one of those projects. And there's different things for different months. And ideally, students are working on this as they're going through the school year to try and help prepare them for making the right decisions in the senior year. Let's jump to the next slide. This is just a sample of some of the features that are available in SchoolLinks. All of the ones on here are going to be assessments. So these are tests that students can take and get some information. So information about careers, information about their learning styles, their social emotional learning. It's just different areas for students to explore, a little bit of self-discovery in the process. This will also lead them to potential career choices. So if you're the student who still is unsure about what you want to do for a major in college, this is a really good place to start, especially the Find Your Path and the Would You Rather assessments. Those two assessments can really help narrow down potential career fields that fit your personality. Let's jump to the next one. And I think this is just simply how the slides look on the Find Your Path assessment. And a lot of these assessments are just like this. It's a yes or no to a simple question, and you just keep going through this. It's actually pretty quick. This one in particular takes less than 10 minutes to complete. Next one there. As you explore school links, you can take a look at different career options. And one of the nice parts of school links, it's going to give you current career data, including where certain careers are more popular, where certain careers pay more throughout the country, and shows you historical trends on how those careers are growing and or shrinking in the current economy. It's a really great way to explore some of those options and potentially look out for potential mistakes you might make in picking majors and careers. Let's go to the next slide here. Perfect. So planning for life after high school. You're going to hear a lot today from all of our presenters about this college process and planning for what your next steps are going to be. What I want juniors thinking about right now is, where do you think you're going to apply? As you go through this year, look through school links, do some college searches. I'll show you where to find that in school links in just a second. Take a look at what options you think are best for you, and just start looking for options in colleges that you might want to consider applying to. Next slide. Perfect. Some things to consider. You're going to hear, I'm sure, from some of our panelists, the idea of college fit. College fit is like finding a pair of jeans. You want to find the right fit for you. And students, if you don't find the right fit, you may not decide to wear those jeans. It's the same thing with colleges. You want to find the right size of school, the right location of the school, where it is in the United States, what kind of athletics they have, what kind of extracurricular activities they have. Do they have a Greek life? Lots of different options that go into this idea of school fit. But finding what's right for you really helps you figure out a place that you're going to enjoy being at for the next 4 years of your life. Also looking at colleges, you should be looking at their admissions requirements. Where are you at in terms of your GPA? Are they going to require test scores? We'll hit on that a little bit later in our presentation tonight. What is their acceptance rate? Do they have a high acceptance rate? Do they accept a lot of students? Or is it a highly selective school? Looking at tuition and looking at graduation rate. Tuition is one of those ones that can get ugly. One of the things we recommend to students, and you'll hear this from us repeatedly, students, you should always be looking at a net price calculator. Every college in the United States is required to have a net price calculator on their website. And if you're worried about the financial aid piece of it, and again, we're going to cover that a little bit later, but looking at the net price calculator will give you a realistic idea of what that school will actually cost you based upon your family's financial information. And it's pretty accurate. So be looking out for those as you're looking for schools. Let's go to the next slide. This is the college search engine within School Links. So if you are looking at the screen on that left-hand side at the bottom, it says college, and you'll look, if you hit school search, this is what you're going to see. And you can narrow down the list of schools based upon what your needs are. Right now, we have it is set to California, to public and private. And it's going to show us all the schools in California that are public and private. And you can narrow this down by a bunch of different categories. There's a whole video on how to do this. And so I'm not going to go over it tonight, but I'll show you where you can see that video on our website. So let's jump to the next slide. Perfect. As you're looking for schools, students, we want you to look for a balanced list of schools. The one thing we really don't want to see is your senior year, we're talking with you in March, and you've been accepted to 0 schools, because that puts you in a very difficult place of trying to figure out where to go. And so up front, when we talk with you next year, we're going to ask you for your balanced list. And ideally, you have a mixture of 3 different types of schools. You have what we call likely schools. Now, these are going to be schools where you are in above the 75th percentile of admitted students, meaning your GPA is higher than their averages, and that particular school accepts more than 50% of their applicants. That's considered a likely school. Parents, you might know this as safety schools. It's the same thing, same concept there. The next set of schools we want students to look at is going to be their target schools. So again, think students, this is when you're in the 50 percentile. You're right in the middle of their GPA. There's about a 50-50 chance of you getting in. This is a school where you are a good fit for them academically. And students, we also want you applying to reach schools. We want you applying to schools where maybe you're not at the GP, maybe you're slightly below their average. Maybe it's a high acceptance or a low acceptance rates. Maybe you're looking at one of the UCs like UCLA or UC Berkeley or Harvard, Stanford, Pitzer, um, any one of those schools that is really selective. We want you to apply to at least one selective school. Now, each of these is going to depend on you as the student. Every student's going to have a different balanced list. It's going to look different for every student, and that's okay. What we don't want is we don't want students coming in their senior year, applying to only what are reach schools, and then being disappointed in their application outcomes in the end. Next slide. Perfect. Now, this is on the Claremont High School website, and a lot of what I'm talking about with school links is going to be here on the website. On the right-hand side, you will see college links. The first link on there is school links. On the left-hand side, where it says resources for college applications, this is where a lot of our information is held. This is webinar recordings. In fact, this particular presentation will be located here and at the top of the page as well. This will have links to videos specifically on school links, links to videos on other areas that might help you in the college application. Also on the right-hand side under college links, you will see direct links to different application types and different university websites. You'll also see a direct link to the SATs and the ACTs, the SAT and ACT dates. All this is on the CHS website. We encourage you to make use of this information to check in on this on a regular basis. Yes, students, we will be hounding you and we will be sending messages to you constantly, trying to keep you guys up to date on this stuff. But if you ever have a question about this process, this is a really great resource to look over. I think there we go. Cal States, you guys are up next.
Well, hello. Can you guys see me and hear me? Excellent, excellent. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Rhoda. I'm one of the financial aid specialists at CSU Dominguez Hills. I have the pleasure of presenting to you this evening on financial aid. Tried to make it a colorful and creative presentation for you, understanding financial aid one bite at a time. So let's jump right in. Next slide. So the topics we're going to talk about, what, when, and how. Right? Show me the money and what will you need, right? So the what, when, and how, what is financial aid? When should you apply? How should you apply? And then of course, show me the money, right? What types of aid are you going to be eligible for? And then what will you need? Next slide. So the what, when, and how. So again, what is student financial aid? You may have an idea. When should you apply and how? Next slide. So what is financial aid? So at the end of the day, it's just money, right? It's money to help you pay for school. You're going to have educational expenses. You're going to have personal expenses. Giving you a little list right here. What are some of those common expenses? Books and supplies, food and housing, personal, your gas, your cell phone, etc. Of course, your tuition and fees. So you're going to have some common expenses. Next slide. So when should you apply? So colorful slide here. Little give you, the little Halloween decoration down there, right? So to kind of get you to remember when to apply. So you're going to apply in the fall, right? So because you're high school juniors now, you're going to want to apply later this fall that's in your senior year. Notice right there in the center that the priority filing period for 2027-28 will be October 1st, 2026. So this October through March 2nd, 2027. Look at that last column there, important. It's really going to be important for you to remember to reapply for each new academic year. Applying for financial aid is just not a one and done, right? So you want to make sure that you're reapplying for each new academic year between October 1st and March 2nd. Next slide. Now, how do you apply? It's pretty easy. You can apply online using your PC, your laptop, your iPad, your tablet, even your cell phone if you want. There's two primary applications, the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and the CADA, the Cal Dream Act application. In the center there for the FAFSA, anyone who's a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen is eligible to submit that application. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can hover over the QR code, watch the little video about what is the FAFSA. It's very informative and it's very short. but it gives you the information that you need. For the Cal Dream Act application, anyone who is an undocumented applicant and they meet the AB 540 criteria, they can use that application. Next slide. One little message here on the COD application for anyone who's of a mixed status family status. What is that? That is a situation whereby maybe you're a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, but your parent or spouse are also considered contributors, but they don't have a Social Security number, right? So just a little message from the California Student Aid Commission, just letting you know that you can uh, consider doing the FAFSA or the CADA, and they're trying to find ways for you to still be able to fund your education, right? And still attend college. Okay, next slide. Also, some colleges may require what's called the CSS profile. The Cal States, we don't do that, but I wanted to include this information for you. With the CSS profile, it's the College Board profile. It's online. Some colleges may use that to determine your eligibility for non-federal institutional aid. When do you usually apply? It's in October. I'm giving you the QR code here if you'd like to check it out to see which colleges may require that. Okay, next slide. Application cycle for the FAFSA and the CADA. So this is important, so make sure you refer back to it or take a picture of it later. I'm trying to give you a little reminder here that you're basically going to be applying 1 year in advance, right, in preparation for the next. So look at the little columns here. So the academic year. So your first year is going to be 2027-28. That's going to cover August 2027 through June 2028. Can cover the fall semester, spring, and summer. A lot of schools fund summer as a trailer. But look at the priority filing period. So you have October 1st, 2026 through March 2nd, 2027. What's your goal? To apply before the fall of your freshman year. Then subsequently, 28, 29, you can see the pattern. October 27th, you apply through March 2nd, 2028. What's your goal? To apply before the fall semester of your sophomore year, right? And then, of course, you apply before junior year and before your senior year, okay? So that's the goal of this page, okay? Next slide. So here, I'm going to give you 2 tips, right? So tip number 1, financial aid application submitted after March 2nd will still be processed. Sometimes students are like, oh, I missed it. I knew I should have applied, but I missed it. That's okay. Your application will still be processed by the financial aid office. However, if you do apply late, you may miss out on receiving some types of aid. Next slide. Here's your tip number 2. My best advice to you based on my experience is that no matter what you're thinking at the time, right? Showing you here in this graphic, hey, I'm tired. I think I need a break, right? You may want to transfer to another school. Maybe you didn't get the money that you thought you were going to get. Or maybe after your undergrad, I'm not sure about grad school yet. No matter what, okay, until you graduate, our best advice to you is always submit your application for the next academic year. Why? Next slide. Because in the event, what happens if you change your mind? Let's say you successfully transfer to that new college or university you're trying to get into. Maybe you do become eligible for grants because there's a change in income. If you get a late notification of acceptance at your graduate or professional school, here's the thing, you would have already had your application submitted, and at the bottom there, therefore, your eligibility will be determined as an on-time applicant as opposed to a late. Okay, next slide. Now show me the money, right? With all is said and done, what type of aid is out there for you? Next slide. So you have these categories here, grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. So on the grant side, you have federal grants, there's state grants, and then there's institutional grants from the colleges and the universities. Anything that is a grant is the free money. You want that, okay? And then scholarships. Oops, I don't know who's calling. Oh, there we go. Okay. When it comes to scholarships, there's institutional and there are private. Usually have to apply separately. I would definitely encourage you to apply for scholarships, and scholarships are also free money. Now let's look at loans and work study. So when it comes to loans, there's federal and there's private. Okay. Loans are not free. You do have to repay them later. When it comes to work study and college corps, those are funds that you can earn through part-time work or volunteer contributions. Next slide. So just to give you a flavor of the type of money that's out there. So currently for 2025-26, the aid year that we're in right now, the Pell Grant program can be as low as $740 and go up to $7,395. SEOG grants can go up to from 1 to 4,000 depending on the school. There's a Teach grant if you think that you later want to go into teaching, you get into a teacher credential program or a graduate program for that. That can right now the funding limit is 3,772. And then the center there you have the Cal Grant program here in California for the Cal State universities. I'm at a CSU. You can get up to 6,450 right now for tuition at the UCs. The Cal Grant is the 14,934. The Cal Grants usually are on par with whatever the tuition and fees are at the UCs and Cal States. On the right-hand side, the CSU State University Grant, that matches the Cal Grant, 6,450. So that pays tuition, just like the Cal Grants. You can get one or the other. And then for the UCs, if you're considering in the UCs, they have what's called the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan to help with the statewide tuition and fees. If you want to learn more, check out the financial aid office websites. Next slide. Now, with the middle class scholarship, this is also a California program. Important to know here, you don't need a separate application. Okay, you're just going to do the FAFSA or the CAUTA. The award amounts can vary. Look in the center there, basic requirements. You just got to apply by March 2nd. Please apply on time each year. If you initially get the middle class scholarship as a freshman, you can have 4 years of eligibility for it. They have different income ceilings for the middle class scholarship. I looked it up for 2026-27. The ceiling is at 250,000 and below, right? Don't know what it will be, but for when you apply, but you can always check it. They're giving you the QR code there. Okay. Next slide. Now, when it comes to scholarships, again, institutional and private, the amounts can vary. So just know that the colleges and universities will offer scholarships for you for new students, their departmental scholarships, their scholarships for returning students. In the center there, the amounts can vary. For private scholarships, the sources and organizations can vary, right? And then on the far column here, some suggestions for you. Look at the financial aid office websites, right? They usually have their own scholarship office or scholarship page. Try using a free scholarship search engine. I'm giving you some ideas here with scholarships.com, College Board Big Future, SallieMae.com, and ScholarshipsAmerica.org. So those are a few, and there's free. Okay, you don't have to pay for this information. Next slide. Oh, did it stop? Christy, you want to let me share my screen because I have it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, tell me when you.
Jeremy, can you give her access?
She should have access now.
Okay. See how far I got there? See. Okay, you can see it, yes? Okay. All right, so that was scholarships information. Oh. Oh, thought it was clicking on one of them. Okay, loans and work study. So you have the federal loans, 5,500 up to 12,000 annually. These just depend on your grade level and dependency status. What you want to just know from when it comes to student loans, they're not required. Okay, it's just an option for you. Just consider them as an alternative funding source, right? There's private educational loans. Those amounts can vary. Eligibility is based on the amount that's requested and creditworthiness by either the student or the parent. And just know that when it comes to the private loans, you just cannot exceed your cost of attendance budget. So I'm just giving you a quick little example. If your budget is 36,000, but your financial aid funds is 20,000, the difference between the two is 16,000. So that would be the cap or the limit is how much the private loan could be. And then when it comes to work study, a typical range could be 1,000 up to 5,000, depends on the school and their availability of funds. But you just work part-time and you earn those dollars to spend the money for whatever you need it for. Okay, and so then College Corps, now this is a program here in California. It helps to create debt-free pathways for you to engage, okay, in solving problems in your communities. It's actually a very good program. We have lots of students who participate. You can earn up to $10,000. It includes a living allowance and an education award. It requires up to 450 hours of service. If you think it's something you might be interested in, just hover over the QR code there and you can learn a little bit more. And then lastly, what will you need? What kind of documentation will you need? So items for online, you just need to know the basics. Your social security number, date of birth, email address, same thing for your parents. For the FAFSA, you're going to have to create what's called an FSA ID, username and password. Other documents, tax forms, proof of citizenship, your state or government ID, verification worksheet if needed, right? You may need some other items. Not everyone does, but if so, right, you'll be notified by the financial aid office. I'm just telling you here, don't worry about that right now. When the time comes, if you need to submit anything, they'll let you, the financial aid office will let you know, you just submit it. So just a quick recap. So just remember the what, when, and how. Okay, financial aid is money. You're going to reapply each year between October 1st and March 2nd, and you can complete the FAFSA and the CADA online. Okay, and try to apply on time. What, when, and how continue. Just remember the CADA for mixed families. If you're trying to make a decision on what you want to do, right? Just remember here in California, CSAC just partners to work to provide you state protected ways to fund your education and attend school. CSS profile, separate application, use a QR code to determine if the college or university you're applying for requires that. And then when it comes to the money, just remember grants are free money, scholarships are free money, loans you have to repay, and then with the work study and College Corps, you earn those funds. Let's see, when it comes to federal aid, just remember federal aid can be used at any college nationwide. Loans and work study, any college. But when it comes to the state aid, the Cal Grant, the Middle Class Scholarship, the CSU, and the UC aid funds, that's only for schools here in California. Okay. And then for scholarships, try using a free scholarship tool to kind of help manage your search. And then lastly, what you'll need, just the basics, biographical information, name, date of birth, email address, possible documents here. And then I would just give you another pro tip, attend, like you're attending this session now. When they offer other sessions on how to complete the FAFSA for the CADA and you want to learn more, attend those sessions, get the help that you need, mark your calendars. Okay, and then that's it.
All right, next we have our representative from Citrus College.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Muller Thayer. I'm the coordinator for the Citrus Honors Transfer Program, as well as anthropology full-time faculty at Citrus. And I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about community colleges. Next slide, please. So the California Community College system is the largest higher education system in the United States, with over 2.1 million students and 116 colleges. 1/4 of community college students in the United States as a whole attend a California community college, and 1/3 of Californians that are between 18 and 24 are current California community college students. And 70% of our California community college students are people of diverse ethnic backgrounds. Next slide, please. Almost 51% of Cal State University and 29% of UC graduates transferred from a California community college. And almost half of the UC BAs in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, known as STEM degrees, are awarded to California community college transfer students. So starting at community college is actually a really good place to start, and you can end up graduating from these other four-year universities and colleges. Next slide, please. Some notable community college students include people like Steve Jobs, who is the co-founder of Apple. You have a mayor of LA, Guy Fieri, who's a professional chef and television chef, entrepreneur. You have a Chief Justice of California, a Hall of Fame baseball player and civil rights activist, Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor of California. He's also an actor and bodybuilder. Next slide, please. You have best-selling children's authors, Queen Latifah, who I think a lot of people know, Eileen Collins, who's a NASA astronaut and the first woman space shuttle commander. You have Dolores Huerta, a civil rights icon and labor leader. You have a heart transplant doctor, professor, and lawyer, and a prior governor of Hawaii, just to name a few. So you can really start at a community college and pretty much go anywhere. When you look at the California Community College services, they include helping students earn their AA degrees and AS degrees, as well as ADT transfer degrees. And one thing that I noticed earlier in one of the other slides is that the graduation rate looks low at Citrus College. It was 28.1%. That's because some of our students don't graduate. They just earn credits and then transfer. So not everyone does that. Some students are preparing to transfer to a four-year college and university. Some of our students are in the workforce development training, so they may earn certificates instead of graduate degrees. Some are getting vocational certification and also lifelong learning. Next slide, please. Some benefits of attending community college is that they're close by. So you don't have to move out of home if you don't want to. You could still live at home with your parents. It's very affordable at only $46 per unit, which is the lowest in the nation. You can take the time to figure out your goals, your major, grow your skills. So let's say you don't have a very high GPA right now in high school. Good news, your GPA starts over after you graduate, and you can come to a community college, build your skills, build your GPA, and actually make yourself more eligible to transfer into those four-year colleges and universities. There are a lot of support services to help you get there. We have tutoring, skill workshops. We have Veteran Center for veterans. We have programs like EOP&S and DSP&S. And Next Up and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities to support your growth there. We have transfer agreements with a lot of four-year colleges and universities, which can make it easier to transfer to impacted colleges and programs. And so if you can't get in right out of high school because there's a lot of competition, a lot of people are applying, sometimes it's easier if you come to community college, work on your general ed requirements first, and then transfer in as a junior. There's also a lot of opportunities for motivated students. In leadership, for example, you could volunteer and work in student government. You can do other types of leadership and service through clubs and through honor societies. There's research opportunities, there's study abroad opportunities, which I'll talk more about in a second. And study abroad is actually more affordable at the community college as well. Next slide. So I am the coordinator of the Honors Transfer Program, which I mentioned earlier. So if you have any questions about honors programs, please feel free to reach out to me about that as well. Some of the benefits include having smaller class sizes of 20 students or less, seminar style instruction where there's more discussion, there's more hands-on and activity-based learning. We have transfer agreements, including what's called the Transfer Alliance Program with UCLA or the UCLA TAP transfer agreement. We have one with UCI that is honors to honors. We also have transfer agreements to out-of-state schools like Yale, George Washington University, Swarthmore, and quite a few others. So you can reach out to me and see what those are. We have a great community of peers and faculty and a lot of networking that can occur there. We have those leadership and service and research opportunities where you can do research, you have mentorship with their professors, you have this great peer network. We have 2 dedicated honors counselors so that that have drop-in weekly hours, so you can go and see them every week if you want to. And we also have second day priority registration. Next slide, please. A lot of community colleges also have STEM programs. And again, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they include things like STEM counseling and tutoring, supplemental instruction, peer-to-peer mentoring, STEM learning communities, teacher preparation programs for those who want to be teachers later, student research opportunities with universities. An example of that is Project RAISE, where students actually get to work alongside university professors or graduate students doing research with them and building their research skills. And there are also summer research programs that provide opportunities like that as well. Next slide, please. Oops, go back one. Yeah, there's also career and technical education, known as CTE for short. There's lots of programs. There's actually some new ones that just got approved that are not on this slide yet. For example, there's a barber one now alongside cosmetology. We have a drone technology one too that's brand new. You have administration of justice, audio recording technology, automotive technology, dental assisting, nursing, child development. So lots of different opportunities for CTE programs as well. If you're interested in the arts, we have things like Citrus Singers and Performing Arts for singing, dancing, theater, and music. In the arts itself, we have ceramics, drawing, and painting. We have Getty Museum internship opportunities, and the Getty Museum interns program is trying to get more community college students involved. So this is a really great opportunity if you're interested in performing arts and arts in general. Next slide. So I mentioned study abroad before. So this is actually me in my study abroad experience. So on the left side, that is me ziplining through the Costa Rican jungle. So I highly recommend thinking about that. And then on the right, I am in Paris, where I got to spend a month living there. And actually that one photo got rotated. So it's actually the Eiffel Tower, and that picture was from the street that I was living on. So it's cheaper to go study abroad at the community college level, and there are scholarships, and you can use financial aid money to help you afford it. And we have full semester, fall and spring types of programs, as well as winter and summer intersession, which are only a month long. And so those are a little more affordable because they're shorter, and we go all over the place. We have programs in Japan. They're looking at South Korea, London, Madrid, Costa Rica, Paris, Rome, Dublin. So great opportunities. Next slide, please. Paying for community college, like I was just mentioned in the last presentation, the FAFSA, or the California Dream Map application. You have the California College Promise Grant. There are other grants and programs such as the Pell Grant, the Cal Grant. Citrus has its own Promise program funding as well. And scholarships are great. You really need to look into those. And 50% of community college students don't pay fees. Next slide, please. If you're interested in applying, we do accept applications all year round. So you'd fill out your application. You want to apply for financial aid. You're going to attend an orientation, and most of those are online, but some are on campus. You're going to see a counselor and prepare what's called a student education plan, or SEP for short, and then register for classes. Next slide. Just as a basic guideline for what to expect, the dates will vary by college. So you want to go to the college website and the outreach offices for the college that you want to attend. But generally speaking, around January 1st, the applications will open for that year, for that fall. So if you wanted to apply this year, for example, you could apply now. That application opened January 1st for fall of this year, 2026. Since you're looking at 2027, January 1st, 2027, the applications will open for community college for fall of 2027. After you apply and are accepted, then you would complete the new student orientation. And then around March or April is when you're going to reach out to a counselor and get an appointment and fill out that SEP plan. And keep in mind that's a guideline. You can change it later. This is just to get you on track so you know what types of classes to be looking for, and then make an appointment to pick your classes and get registration support. And then around mid-May is when registration opens. And for students who are in early decision in the Promise program, students, you'll get priority registration on that second day as well. Next slide, please. So if you have any questions about the honors program, study abroad, community colleges, my email is there. Please feel free to reach out to me. And if you put any questions in the question and answer today, I will answer them as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. One of my favorite parts is that I think it was 2 years ago, you sent in a video because you were in another country. So I love that. Please make sure that you guys are putting your questions in the chat. And next we have our representative from Cal Poly Pomona.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Deshaun. I am one of the outreach counselors from Cal Poly Pomona. I'm here today to give you a high-level presentation about Cal Poly Pomona, as well as give you kind of an example of a CSU campus as well. So, yeah, next slide. So a little bit about Cal Poly Pomona. We are one of 22 CSU campuses. And one of 3 Polytechnic institutes in the state of California. We are also the closest CSU to Claremont, so just around the corner, not too far away. And that location also puts us at a unique advantage to be at the center of industry. So that is one of our biggest selling points, is that we are in the center of everything, basically everything fun, as well as everything either business or industry related, as well, being in between those 4 different counties. Another big major selling point for our campus is also our small classroom sizes. We don't have too big of classroom sizes. Usually our student to faculty ratio is about 1 to 33 students. Also, for every professor, there's about 33 students. So we also have a very diverse campus as well, and I'll go a little bit about that in the next slide. As well as having over 300 different clubs and organizations, as well as plenty of opportunity for research. You'll also see on the side some of our rankings as well, and we are considered one of the best bang for your buck campuses in the state as well. So yeah. So these are some of our top majors. Just keep in mind that even though these are top majors, not all of those majors are going to be impacted. And I will talk a little bit about program impaction later on as well. But for now, these are our top majors. We have about 27,000 student population. We're considered on the upper end of a mid-sized campus. And in terms of, student population, we have over 55% of our students that are first generation college students, as well as 70% of our students receiving financial aid. And there's a full breakdown of our demographics as well. Next slide. Cal Poly Pomona Polytechnic, what does Polytechnic exactly mean? Polytechnic is the learning philosophy that we employ on our campus. It is a learn by doing, become by doing learning approach, which means that you get a lot more hands-on experiences on the campus, whether it be in the clubs that you join, the classwork that you do. There's always going to be a hands-on component. And that is also one of our biggest selling points as well, just because companies love hiring Polytechnic students. It's less training that they have to do on their end, so they get that technical knowledge to accompany the theoretical knowledge as well. And these are some companies that our students routinely go to work for. We have internship partnerships with Walt Disney. A lot of our technical majors also end up going to work for these tech companies. We have Southern California Edison right across our street. It is literally across campus. A lot of our students will end up going to work for them. And a lot of our students end up building things and creating things. And you can see some of those examples in our Baja Formula and Baja SAE cars, where students get to build formula cars. And you might have recently also seen our Rose float in the Pasadena Rose Parade as well. And I think they did also win the Sweepstakes award for that as well. So, yeah. In terms of campus life, there's a lot to do on a college campus. But if you are in high school currently and you're interested in student government, you're part of ASB, feel free to do that at Cal Poly Pomona as well. There's so much different opportunities for leadership development, especially within the student government realm. And if you're ever looking for a job on campus, our ASI student government also hires the most amount of students on campus as well. There's an opportunity fraternity, sorority life, if that is your thing. And we also have tons of different community service opportunities in our service learning courses as well. Some special programs that we have our Kellogg's Honors Program. We also have Study Abroad, as well as McNair Scholar. So if you are interested in doing graduate level research, there's plenty of opportunity there for either a master's program or furthering your graduate studies. And even if you wanted to go into your PhD, we have one PhD program in education as well. In terms of athletics, we are considered a Division II athletics programs. And if it is something that you are interested in, what I would recommend to you, juniors going into your senior years, definitely get in contact with the coaches if you plan on playing any of these sports. That way you are kind of on their radar. They can have a profile on you prior to that. So definitely go on our website and contact those coaches for the sports that you are interested in playing. We also have intramural sports and club sports. So if you don't want to compete at a collegiate level, but you still want to do it in college, that is definitely an opportunity you have as well. And you can also see our different athletics programs on our website as well. So. In terms of support services, we believe in a holistic approach for student support. These are some of those resources. A couple things that I want to mention here is the food resources. We have a poly pantry. I always say there is free food on a college campus. It's a matter of finding it, right? And our food resources, poly pantry is also another great way for you to get your groceries completely free of charge to the student. And again, there's always free food, right? We also have a clothes closet, which gives you 6 items of professional attire. And these can be, one item can be considered a whole full suit. You always want to look the part especially when you're going to look for those jobs, look for those internships, and that also helps you out to get those clothes as well. In terms of health services, we have our CAPS program, which is our counseling and psychological services, which gives you up to 8 free therapy sessions, and you can always ask for more. And we also have a learning resource center that students can utilize for tutoring, and different colleges also have their different tutoring centers as well. And in terms of admission requirements, so what is it that you really need to be on the lookout for? So Cal Poly Pomona and the CSU campuses share some similarities, and there are main differences. The main thing is that you must meet CSU eligibility. What that means for you is going to be completing those A through G courses with a C minus or better. And there's a 2.5 GPA requirement coming from those A through G courses as well. Where we differ a little bit is that we also use a multi-factor admissions process, which just means that we also do consider non-academic factors. However, we are also test blind, so we don't require any ACT or SAT scores. And in terms of other things that we look for, if you are applying for any STEM majors, we will also look at your math GPA as well. And I will talk a little bit about program impaction as well. So Cal Poly Pomona is not campus-wide impacted. We are only program-specific impacted. So what does that mean? So when you're looking for those colleges, definitely look out for which CSUs are impacted campus-wide and which CSUs are impacted program-wise. As for us, since we are program-wise impacted, which just means that for certain majors, it is going to be a little bit more competitive to get into than other majors, as opposed to all of our majors being competitive. So in terms of the other requirements, especially if you are applying for these impacted majors, it is just going to be a higher GPA for your overall GPA, and especially if you're applying for those STEM majors, we might require you to have a higher math GPA. And typically, if you are planning on applying for those STEM majors, we require you to complete 4 years of math as opposed to the 3 required ones. So, yeah. In terms of the transfer requirements, the requirements shift a little bit if you plan on going the community college route. So no longer are your high school grades going to be as relevant unless you did do dual enrollment or you have AP or IB exams. So in which case you can get college courses as well. Going into community college, the GPA drops down from a 2.5 to 2.0 for non-impacted majors. And we require you to complete 60 CSU transferable units, which typically equates out to about 2 years in community college. And we also don't take lower division transfers unless it is for a very specific major, which is hospitality management. And we do require you to complete those Golden 4 courses, which is consistent across all of the CSUs as well. That is going to be your A1 oral communication, A2 English composition. So think like a college level writing. A critical thinking course, however, if you are applying for an engineering major, that critical thinking is waived. And lastly, a college level math course as well. And now, if you are applying for those impacted majors as a transfer student, you're also going to be required to take supplemental courses that align with your major. And all of those supplemental courses, you can use assist.org, or you can go on our website and you can see what supplemental courses that you need for those specific majors. And these are going to be all of our impacted majors. And again, if you don't know what program impaction means, impaction is just that we have more students applying for these majors than we can accommodate. So we tend to take the most competitive pool of applicants. What does this mean for you going in as a first-time freshman? It's typically going to mean that you're going to be held to a higher degree in terms of like evaluation, right? We are going to be looking for a higher GPAs coming into these majors, and every single major, although they might be, or all of these majors might be impacted, not all of them are impacted equally. So some majors might be hyper competitive versus some majors which are still going to be competitive, but not as such. For example, if you take mechanical engineering, for example, it is one of our most impacted majors. It might have a very high GPA threshold from about a 4.1 to a 4.2, as opposed to something like accounting, which is still impacted, but is going to be to a lesser degree, if that makes sense. So, yeah. And this is going to be the application cycle. Just remember, October 1st is typically when applications open up. That is when you will be applying, and it runs typically all the way till December 1st or November 30th. You should, if you have already applied, you should hear back decisions starting early February, which goes all the way till, or starting late February all the way till March. So, yeah. And one thing to keep in mind is also going to be that school code. So when you're filling out your FAFSA, that is how we get your information. So definitely write that down or take a screenshot of the school code. That way we get your information for financial aid. In terms of housing, if you do plan on living on campus, those housing applications open up late February. It is on a first come, first served basis, but we do prioritize distance. So if you are closer, then you will be on the lower end of the priority list. However, I do want to say that if you apply as soon as possible, your chances are much higher than if you were to wait around. So one thing that I do want to shout out is going to be our open houses, especially when you're shopping around looking for these different schools. Definitely do recommend going to these open houses because you can really get a feel of the campus. You could really get to envision yourself going there. For us, ours is on March 21st. And I definitely do recommend it. It's a great opportunity for you to talk to the different, departments, different colleges, different clubs. And kind of just envision your life and build out your college life before. It's kind of think of it as a mini orientation before going to orientation. So, yeah. This is my contact information. If you ever want to check in with me, have me look over your transcripts, see where you're at. definitely send me an email. You can try calling me, but sometimes I'm on the road, so email is going to be the best way to reach me and schedule an appointment for any pre-admission advising. So, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we will have our representative from our private colleges.
Great. Thank you so much, Christy. Hi, my name is Tara Briggs, and I'm the Vice President for Admission and Financial Aid at Harvey Mudd College. I'm hoping that many of you have heard of us since we are less than a mile away from your high school campus. Sort of asking someone to speak about all private colleges is a little bit like asking a member of the class of 2027 at Claremont High School to speak on behalf of all of the students. There are, just as among your classmates, there's an incredible range of talents and interests. The same is true about private colleges. And so I'm going to talk about private colleges largely in California, but please understand that whatever I say today about California also holds true for the rest of the country. Tonight, my real goal is to help you not rule out private colleges before you've even started this process. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the myths that you hear about private colleges, but I really want to focus on the opportunities and the diversity of resources. So I have the map here that you see of just California, just to show you just the diversity of different kinds of institutions among private colleges in California. There are over 80 nonprofit private institutions in California alone. So multiply that out by the rest of the country and you have an incredible wealth of choice. Next slide, please. So I'm focusing in just literally on one region. And of course, it's the one in which we're located. And you can see even just from this list of institutions that just about every kind of institution that you can imagine is represented in this one section of LA and LA County, Kern, San Bernardino, this whole area. Research One institutions, comprehensive universities, liberal arts and science colleges, religiously affiliated colleges, specialized colleges, and lifelong learning schools are all represented. So you don't even have to go more than, say, a 50-mile radius to find examples of every kind of institution. If you're wondering if a private college might be right for you, my tip for you is to go visit one. And I can suggest 5 that, like I said, are less than a mile from your high school campus. If you visit us at the Claremont colleges, you'll be able to get a sense of the diversity even within small liberal arts colleges. And so we want you to take advantage of that as well. Next slide, please. So here's just a sampling of the different institutions that count as private colleges in California. And you may not have heard of all of these institutions, but my admission tip for you today is just because you haven't heard of an institution, that doesn't mean that you should rule it out. For example, a little quick plug for Harvey Mudd. I don't know if you know that Harvey Mudd has been rated the #1 return on investment of any college or university in the country. We may not be a household name, say, outside of the West Coast, although we're getting more and more well-known. But to have that recognition is amazing. And we also, per capita, have the second highest percentage of students going on to get their PhDs. And if that's just Harvey Mudd that happens to be located in your hometown that has that kind of recognition, imagine the different kind of recognition that you will also be able to find among private colleges around the rest of the state, as well as the rest of the country. Part of the reason that these colleges, many of these colleges, have become so selective is that students often tend to apply to colleges that they see in the ranking books, or they see in, they hear about it from different people. But if you branch out and keep an open mind, as you heard at the beginning of this process, you'll be able to see a host of institutions, private and public, that may be ideal fits for you. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some of the myths about private colleges. So one is that people think, they hear private college, they think small, they think hard to get into, you can't do STEM, you can't do research, they're so expensive. None of this is true, because private colleges doesn't just mean a small private liberal arts college. USC is a private institution with over 20,000 undergraduates. Harvey Mudd is probably on the smallest end there. We only have 900 undergraduates, but you'll be able to find the right size for you, everything in between that. So rest assured that the schools are not going to be not all of them are going to be small. That said, I will encourage you to think about the advantages of going to a small institution. Harvey Mudd, we have a 9-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Your faculty members get to know you incredibly well. They are there to teach and not just to do research, which ends up being incredibly important. And in terms of the reputation that private colleges are hard to get into, again, we have the entire range of selectivity reflected in private institutions around the state of California. I think another myth is also that as hard as they are to get into, it's even harder to apply to them. We may have some more requirements that you may not have at a public institution. But again, there is the same diversity of experience in applying as well. It doesn't need to be more complicated than a public institution. So keep an open mind there. And again, this myth about sort of not being STEM focused, or people hear liberal arts colleges, for example, and they think that doesn't include STEM. But to be honest, liberal arts just means an open way of thinking. STEM is very much a part of liberal arts, and research is an opportunity as well. At places like Harvey Mudd, essentially, because we don't have graduate students, all of our faculty members are doing the teaching, and if they were at a larger institution, they might turn to their graduate students to support them in their research. At Harvey Mudd, they turn to their undergraduates. So you may actually have earlier and deeper access to research at a place like Harvey Mudd than at a larger institution. That said, even larger private institutions offer plenty of opportunities for research. So rest assured that you will have plenty of choices there as well. And then finally, this idea that, that private colleges are all too expensive. One advantage, to be honest, of being a private college is that many of us, not all, but many of us have some very, very large endowments that pay for a lot of different things at the college. But what that also means is private colleges are often able to award more generous financial aid than you might find at state and public institutions. So there are some situations, we hear about it every year from the students who we admit, there are some situations where it may actually cost you less to go to a private institution than it would to go to a public institution. You do have to do all of the things with financial aid that you heard about earlier, and many of us as private institutions do require that College Scholarship Service or CSS profile form, but we do everything we can to make sure that cost is not going to be a barrier. So even if you're looking at a private institution and you're saying, oh my gosh, that is so much more than a public institution, and there's no in-state tuition benefit, for example, that doesn't mean that your final cost is going to be that sticker price. Very often the net cost is going to be quite a bit lower. And again, you are already encouraged to use the net price calculators, and I will support that as well. Next slide, please. So really what I wanted to focus on here is sort of about the process itself. There's lots of different ways to learn about colleges in general, but certainly about private colleges as well. This does not have to be an overwhelming process. There are incredible range of free resources that you can take advantage of. You see that two things I'm going to highlight here. One is the idea of virtual information sessions. Sometimes if you're looking at private colleges, for example, that are outside of this area, you're thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to afford to go visit them. The great ways to learn about the colleges are to really sign up for the college's inquiry list and to go to virtual information sessions. What we're finding these days is that students, and I don't blame you, I'll say this, we're finding that a lot of students these days are incredibly hesitant to give us their information, their email, to join any of our mailing lists or our inquiry lists. But if you don't do that, you're not going to hear about events. You're not going to hear about when we're in your area, perhaps having a reception. You may not learn about scholarship opportunities. So even though it seems a little that you don't want to get inundated with materials, which we know we do and we apologize, it is a great way to get to know more about the colleges. So rest assured, there's plenty of ways to figure this out. Next slide. Okay, so finally, I want you to understand, you are in wonderful hands with the counseling team at CHS. So please take their advice. Ask for help when you need it. I don't want to miss this opportunity to give you these tips for success in the college process that will help you frame how you're going to approach this. And this idea of students really owning this process. It doesn't mean parents and family supporters don't have a role, they absolutely do. But students, the more you can sort of take ownership of it and essentially sort of drive the car, that is going to help you feel like you are making the right choice for yourself. The other thing I want to leave you with is the idea, and this is true for colleges in general, not just for private colleges, but it's especially true, I think, for private institutions, is this next year for you should not be about sort of twisting yourself into a pretzel to try to become something that you think that we want. at private colleges. This should be about celebrating the choices you've made, about knowing that there are literally hundreds of colleges, both private and public, who want you exactly as you are now. And it's your job to find the schools that think you've made the right choices in your courses, in your activities. And again, you're in fantastic hands with the counseling team here. So I'm leave you with the idea. As you start this process, you saw the sort of likely schools and reach schools. I would also encourage you to include at least one or two private institutions on that to see what your opportunities are and understand that you can have an absolutely phenomenal experience at a private institution, just as you can at our amazing state school. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information. Next, we will hear from the UCs.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus Mathis. I am currently the Assistant Director for Community Engagement at UC Santa Barbara. I've been in the UC system for about 25 years, and I'm excited to talk to you all about our amazing programs. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is the University of California. We have 9 UC campuses. There are actually 10, but there's one that doesn't admit undergraduates, right? What's cool about these programs is that they all have very unique properties while they still retain that research one orientation, right? So what you're going to find is that you'll find different regions, you'll find different sizes, you'll find different majors among these schools. Like Davis, for example, is a larger UC, around 50,000 students. They have great agricultural programs and things like that. My son goes to UC Merced. He's a senior right there. Merced has a program that can guarantee you into UCSF medical school, right? Which is very, very cool. I think that's an amazing program. Santa Barbara, which where I'm working here, we have really good accounting programs, aquatic biology, things like that. Irvine has great nursing programs. So there's so many unique opportunities at these UCs, whether you're going to go to the school in a large area, in a smaller city, in the coast, in the forest. There's all kinds of things to look at. And as we hear about fit, that's something you want to consider when you're applying to University of California schools. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so Research One institutions, what are they for? What I've learned is that the UC schools, you won't find many courses that teach you how to do things, but you'll learn more about why. You'll learn about the processes and the foundations that create the current circumstances or research foundations that we have right now, with the intention of you building upon those foundations, right? Through continued research, through internships, through employment, things like that, right? We're here to prepare you for skills, for careers that don't exist yet, right? Prepare for graduate school. A good portion of our students go off to graduate school. Over half of our students conduct research as undergraduates, right? Start their own business, all kind of amazing things that happen at the UC campuses. Next slide. Academically, we have 800 majors. Like I said, some of the schools have unique programs like UCSB's Actuarial Sciences program. UCLA has some really, really fantastic programs. Irvine has a gaming major, right? And then what you're going to find is that some of the programs have similar names. So when you're applying to UCs, just be careful to look for the name of the major. So for example, UCLA has a psychology program, where UC Santa Barbara is psychological and brain sciences. They're very, very similar, but they have different names, right? UC Berkeley has African studies, where UCSB has Black studies. So they're very, very similar. So when you're looking for majors that you have an interest in, then make sure to kind of look for different synonyms for the majors that you're curious about, right? And I got to mention, every UC does have an undeclared option, right? There's an undeclared option every UC. So if you're not sure what you want to do, you can absolutely go on and start your first quarter, your first year, until you kind of figure out what your interests are, and then you can go ahead and declare your major. Next slide, please. All right, so applying to UCs, the cool part is that all the UCs have the exact same application. You can apply to Berkeley, LA, San Diego, Santa Barbara, Merced, Davis, all on one application, right? One set of PIQs, put your activities down once, put your grades down once, and then you pay per campus, right? That makes it very, very easy for you to submit these applications, and allows you to really think about the other schools you want to apply to, like the Cal States and like the private schools. We are so lucky to live in California. We have so many amazing options. So you guys are in really, really good hands. Okay, next slide. All right, so the UCs are looking at these 3 components, right? We're looking at your A through G coursework. We're looking at your UC GPA, and we're looking at your life experiences. Those combined are how we do our evaluation. And I'll go into more detail about that later. We can do the next slide. Okay, first is your A through Gs. A through Gs are super important. We're in the process right now of reading applications. And we all spend all day doing application evaluation, and the A through Gs are important, right? Your GPA is extremely important, but their A through Gs are also very, very important. We want to see students exceeding their A through G requirements if possible. So that means, take that fourth year of math if you can get that, right? That third year of science if you can get that third year of science. The third year of language is great. If you do 3 years in high school, then you can waive that requirement as an undergraduate, which will make your life so much easier. My son had to take French 3 because he only took 2 years in high school, right? French 3 is way harder at a UC than it is in high school. So go ahead and knock that out. But we look at how many A through Gs you took, right? Because strength of schedule is something that we really pay attention to at the UC campus. Okay, next slide, please. Uh-oh, A through G course list. Oh, we can skip the pictures. So the A through G course, there we go, that's perfect. A through G course list, that's how you can figure out what classes you're taking to make sure they're satisfying certain requirements, right? I've seen students, I remember a student had amazing grades, but didn't mark down, but he didn't mark down his VPA requirement. So he was going to get denied from every UC he applied to until we had to call every school and tell them that he made a mistake on his application. So please be careful when you're submitting the application that you put all the classes in, right? There's websites to help. I know some of you guys are doing IB and AP, right? That's fantastic. Those courses are going to help you tremendously. Also look at dual enrollment, right? That's another way to increase your GPA requirements and to make your schedule look more challenging. That's something we actually really do look at. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is how we do your GPA. As a UC applicant, you're going to have 3 different GPAs. You're going to have your weighted GPA, fully weighted, right? All the APs, all the honors, all the community colleges, all that stuff is going to come up to your full GPA, right? Then you're going to have your unweighted GPA, which is your flat on a 4.0 scale, right? And then your UC GPA is your 10th and 11th grade A through G courses, right? We don't have any pluses, we don't have any minuses, and we only count up to 8 semesters of UC approved honors AP or IB courses, okay? So that's your UC GPA. So we're evaluating all 3 GPAs, but just pay attention to that, right? So when you look at strength of schedule and things like that, when you look at taking AP classes or IB classes or going to dual enrollment classes, remember that we have students that might have gotten straight A's, but it can be challenging if they didn't take a challenging schedule. If you didn't exceed your A through Gs, if you didn't exceed your AP and IB courses and things like that. Okay, next slide, please. All right, we're test free, right? We don't look at SATs, we don't look at ACTs. Even if you tell us somewhere on the application, we cannot use that to evaluate your application. What we can look at though are your AP and IB scores, right? So that's something you can absolutely do. Now, they're not going to hurt you. So if you take 2 or 3 AP scores and you get a 2 or under a 3, right? We're not going to knock down your evaluation, but yeah, scoring a 3 or higher on your AP exams can help you in terms of your evaluation, right? And completing your IB certification can absolutely help. And you can start as a sophomore, which is fantastic. Even if you don't finish the IB program, if you pass those IB exams, that's still going to help you in terms of your evaluation because we like to see students challenging themselves. All right. Okay, next question. Next slide. All right, the third thing we look at, okay, we talked about A through G, we talked about GPA. The next component is your life experiences. We call it the comprehensive review, right? We want to know who you are, what you're about. The question we like to ask is, how are you taking advantage of what's available to you, right? So we're not comparing you to another student, we're comparing you to your own abilities. So when you include that, you want to talk about clubs, sports, community, right? Activities, internships, research, Model UN, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, playing an instrument, public speaking, dance. There's so many cool things that y'all are doing right now. It's really important that you express that to us. And I'm going to show you on the next slide how to kind of indicate that stuff. All right, next slide, please. All right, so what cannot be used? Sorry. What cannot be used is race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion. That stuff is all actually redacted from the application. So as we're evaluating your application, that stuff is all redacted. We can't see anything. We can see what school you go to. We can see all your academic stuff and everything else, but we cannot see any of that demographic information. All right, next slide. All right, 13 factors. I think I actually included those. You can go to the next slide. There we go. 13 factors for admission. This is cool. You might want to take a picture of this. These are the 13 factors for admissions for all of the UC schools, right? I'm not going to spend a bunch of time reading all of them, but this is very helpful in understanding what the UC schools are looking for. The three that are highlighted are the three components that UC Santa Barbara looks at in particular. So every UC is going to select three of these and pay extra attention to them, right? So for us, we're looking at special projects, special talents, and then the contents of your high school curriculum, right? Those are things that we pay attention to during the evaluation process. All right, next slide, please. So for example, when you're filling out your application for your activity section, this is what I was going to show you. This is really cool, right? So you have you say tennis. Now, when you say tennis, you want to see, was it varsity tennis? Was it JV tennis? Your captain, all those types of things, right? We're also going to ask you how many hours per week, how many weeks per year, and what grades were you involved in these activities? So be prepared. As juniors, you want to start thinking, okay, I want to make sure that all my stuff is lined up. If you start creating a brag sheet now, then you have a better opportunity to, when you start filling out your application, it'll make it a lot easier to enter all these activities, because there can be a lot for some of you guys. Okay, next slide. All right, so this is about campuses that have challenging majors, or majors that have anything special, like supplemental applications. So most UCs do not have supplemental applications, but some do. Like Berkeley might send you an additional application for some extra information. UC Santa Barbara's Creative Studies program might send you a form to fill out some additional information. I think Irvine's nursing programming is the same. So there are some programs that require additional information, but most of them are going to be the straightforward application you have to submit. All right, next question. All right, so the bookmarks, right? Go ahead and take a picture of this. Here's a UC application website. There's websites for campuses and majors. The quick reference is very, very important if you have very detailed information, detailed questions. Financial aid, the financial aid presentation here was excellent. As a father of a UC student, yeah, it's important, right? He filled out his FAFSA. Do not fill that thing out late, because it can hurt your aid. I also mentioned financial aid directors and staffs are not always robotic, right? If something is unusual about your circumstances, you can reach out to the financial aid office and say, hey, my income doesn't reflect my ability to pay. For example, I have a daughter with autism, and sometimes we have to spend some extra funding and things like that to care for her. So I told the financial aid office at UC Merced, and they're able to kind of adjust my son's financial aid to help out a little bit. So just don't be afraid to reach out to them. Okay, next slide. All right, calendar reminders. Here's some advice, right, for things you should be doing. There was a great calendar that was presented earlier, but for UCs, this is great. Attend the open houses, attend the workshops, follow us on social media. My staff runs our UCSB admissions account, right? So if you want to learn about what's happening at the UCs or at any university, go ahead and add them on social media, on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. They don't all have TikTok accounts, but Instagram, you should find an Instagram account for most of the schools you're going to be applying to, and they post really cool information. All right, next slide. All right, final slide, I think. This is a fantastic application workshop. It's an 8-part workshop that covers every part of the UC application. It's going to help you for all the UCs you're applying to. I highly suggest you check that out. If there are any questions, you can email this address right here, admissions@ucsb.edu, or you can ask Ms. Vogel to reach out to me, and I'll put down my email address, and I would love to have any questions you guys have. My email address is marcus.mathis@ucsb.edu. And I think that's all I have today. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you so much. That was wonderful. And next we will have our student perspective.
Hi everyone, my name is Enya, and here's my perspective and advice as a student. So I'm obviously a senior this year. I took a mix of APs and IBs, but the majority of them APs. And outside of class, I'm a ballet dancer, an editor on the Wolf Packet. I volunteer at a local hospital, and I play the piano. Next slide, please. So here's a little overview of my journey. So I'd say junior year was definitely a heavy year for me, as it is for many students. But after finishing all of my AP exams, I talked to my 2 teachers in person to ask them about writing my letters of recommendation. And then I took the June SAT. This was actually my 3rd time, and I was finally happy with my score. And then I started researching colleges, and I happened to be in New York for dance over the summer, so I visited some schools along the East Coast. And then during the summer, I finalized my college list and started brainstorming and drafting my personal essay. And many private universities accept optional arts portfolios for students to showcase their dedication to like visual arts, theater, dance, music. And so I started creating my dance video and resume, and I asked my director for an outside letter of recommendation. And then during senior year, I filled out the teacher and counselor questionnaire, which is a form that recommending teachers and counselors send out to their students in the fall. There are just like a couple questions. You write up your qualities and your hopes for college, and those questionnaires really help your recommenders write the best letters that they can. And then on November 1st, I submitted my early action application, and on December 1st, my UCs. And then I spent all of winter break completing 19 regular decision schools. This is a really high number. Most students typically complete 10 to 15 total. Next slide, please. Okay, junior year. So a question you should be really thinking about during this time is, what do I want out of my college experience? And start thinking about any majors you're interested in. Obviously, it doesn't have to be set in stone. And any opportunities you're looking for in college, whether that be in research, sports, extracurriculars, and just let this drive your research. Look into schools that align with your goals and your values. And some really helpful resources are college websites and YouTube, especially videos of students and alumni who like come out and talk about their college experiences. I also reached out to students on campus tours and on social media to ask them about student life and campus culture. And I highly, highly recommend that you create a spreadsheet with all of your colleges and your research to help you make future decisions. Or for some private schools, they'll ask for like why us essays where you need to write about like why you're interested in those schools and your research really comes in handy. And also make sure to talk to your recommending teachers in person to get a verbal confirmation, preferably in May or June, and follow up with them in person or through email during senior year because the fall season gets really busy for all of us. Um, Next slide, please. So you survived junior year. What's next? First, definitely allow yourself some time to rest and enjoy the things that you're doing over summer. But also keep in mind that senior year is going to be really, really busy. For me, I'd say the fall of senior year was probably the heaviest workload I've had, just with college apps on top of 6 AP and IB classes. And during the summer, try to get as much done as you can. Finish up researching, maybe visit some schools, and finalize your balanced college list, and then just start writing. I would highly recommend that you finish your Common App personal essay by the end of summer. And for those of you who don't know, the personal essay is just like a long essay that goes to all of your colleges when you're applying to schools through the Common App. And then there are also school-specific essay prompts, which come out around August. And it would be a really good idea to start maybe brainstorming those, start writing those, and also start filling out your activities and honors list. Just try to get as much done as you can before senior year starts. And a really, really big tip I have is to stay organized. I highly, highly recommend that you create like a drive folder and keep all of your college app writing in it. And also put your college spreadsheet in that as well. And this will make your life a lot easier and save you a lot of time, especially when you're applying to multiple colleges, because many of them will actually have similar supplemental prompts. And it is definitely okay and actually highly encouraged that you recycle as much writing as you can. And after you submit your applications, make sure to keep checking your emails because colleges often reach out for like more information or for scheduling interviews, and you do not want to miss that. Next slide, please. So senior year finally comes, and here's a simple timeline of what the year kind of looks like. So around late October, get those teacher and counselor questionnaires in. And then if you're particularly interested in attending a certain school, check if they have like an that check if you have an option to apply early, sorry. And for clarification, early action is non-binding. So if you get in, you don't have to go, but early decision is binding. So if you get in, you have to go. So keep that in mind. And then Cal State and UC applications are due at the turn of December, so usually like really late November or the 1st of December. And regular decision applications are due around January or February. And for me, most of my schools clustered around like January 1st to 8th. So you'll have winter break to knock those out. And after everything's in, make sure to celebrate. You've earned it. You're almost there. And now just make sure to keep checking your emails so you don't miss anything. And maybe look into some scholarships if you're interested. And in terms of financial aid, FAFSA should actually be at the beginning of this timeline. Sorry about that. Because you should try to get FAFSA and the CSS profile done as soon as possible in case you have any like missing documents, so you know ahead of time. And other opportunities include college fairs and college visits, which is when a college representative comes to CHS and holds a little presentation about their school. You can get more information about these events at the Career Center in the CHS library. And there's also an on-the-spot admissions event around October or November. Next slide, please. So something I cannot stress enough is that this is your story. Focus on your own goals and what you do best, and make sure your writing really reflects who you are. I know there are just a lot of things going around on YouTube and social media that are kind of discouraging and make students feel like they're not doing enough. But know that you have a unique story to tell and you're doing what's right for your journey. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's so true. So don't compare yourself to others. Next slide, please. So in closing, start early, try to get as much done as you can during the summer. Also, if you're doing testing, I highly recommend that you start signing up for tests now if you haven't. For me, I had to take the SAT 3 times to finally be happy with my score. And so if you're doing testing, really try to get those done before senior year starts. And then do your best. Make your essays the best that they can possibly be. Because the truth is, at this point, the only thing that you can really change about your application is how well you write your essays. So make sure they're the best that they can be. And use your resources. Your counselors are always here to support you. Go online, do lots of research, and make sure you know how to use school links. And lastly, stay kind to yourself. This is a really stressful time, but believe in your efforts, stay on top of things, and know that you're almost there. And allow yourself time to rest as well. And thank you so much. Feel free to reach out with any questions or if you see me on campus.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful information. Next, we will be hearing from Mr. Troche regarding ACT and SAT admissions testing.
I have to follow that up. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. And honestly, some of the best advice you as students can hear. So let's jump into SAT and ACT testing. And I would say one of the biggest questions that I get every year is, do I need to test? And unfortunately, the answer to that is actually, it depends. So there's different requirements for different schools. On the next slide, we'll take a look at those. We have on there, we got the next slide there. There we go. Essentially 4 different testing categories. You have test-free, and test-free is not required. So you can submit them. They may even look at them, but they are not required. And generally speaking, most students who apply to a test-free school are not submitting SATs or ACTs. Then you also have test blind. And test blind would indicate that these schools are not going to even review them. So you can send your test scores, but they will not be viewed at all. A more common, and especially as we've gotten further away from COVID, is our test expected or test required. These are essentially the same thing. If a school says they're test expected or test required, that means a student must take an SAT or an ACT in order to be considered for admissions. And the last category down there is test optional, and this is one of the ones that's a little bit more questionable. But test optional indicates that a school will take an SAT or an ACT and review that SAT or an ACT but it is not required for them to be reviewed for admissions. Next slide. Generally speaking, admissions testing requirements are going to vary by institution. There are some pretty set rules for the UCs, Cal States, and even NCAA. For all three of those, they do not require admissions testings. However, if you're applying to out-of-state public schools, you're applying to private schools, every school is going to have a different policy on whether they're requiring testing. So the answer to that question, if you need to take tests, it really depends on where you're applying to. And this is one of the really important reasons that students are looking at schools this year in the junior year to determine whether they need to actually test. Let's go to the next slide. So about 75% of colleges and universities are now test optional. Test optional is going to be for college applications, where those admissions are a little bit less competitive. The more competitive you get in those college applications, the more likely they are going to be test required. Many selective schools that are test optional will say that they encourage submitting scores. If you're looking at a more selective school that is test optional, we would highly recommend that you consider taking a test. We do think that is the best practice in this situation. SchoolLinks does provide a lot of this information. However, I will tell you, this is actually something that is changing year to year. And so while SchoolLinks does have some really up-to-date information, we have found that at times it lags behind a little bit. And so we would always encourage a student to look not just at SchoolLinks, but also at the individual school's website to determine whether they need testing for that school. There we go. Okay, some colleges are adopting that text expected language. And again, this leaves a little bit of wiggle room for not submitting a test, but generally speaking, that test expected, we are interpreting as test required, and students are strongly encouraged to take and submit either an SAT or an ACT. Data from some colleges indicates that 90% or more admitted students submitted standardized test scores, and that's just the trend we're going back to. Many of my colleagues here will recall back to pre-COVID times when that was the percentage, 90% or more of students submitting test scores from admissions. Okay. Admissions officers are taking a look at your test scores in your context. So it's not just a blanket statement. This is the number they're looking for. They're looking at a variety of different backgrounds and circumstances, including the schools you're attending, the options that are available to you. All of this plays into their review of your application. So don't feel like if your test score is 30, 40 points below, that you're absolutely not going to be accepted at that school. Admissions officers in general are taking a holistic approach when they're reviewing students. And so a test score is not the single most determining factor in that admissions cycle. Perfect. Some things to consider. First, we would strongly recommend taking a test in the spring. Now, you can hold off on sending your scores to colleges, and you can retest if you desire in the fall or even a second one later in the spring. But we would really push our students, if they're going to need test scores, if they are applying to those private schools or out-of-state public schools, strongly are going to recommend they start testing in the springtime. This gives them the best opportunity to get a feel for what that test is like. And then if they need to retake it, and most students will retake it twice. So that's the average, is taking it 3 times. If they need to retake it, they have time then to prep while already having an experience of taking a test initially. A really great prep resource is Khan Academy, and I can't talk highly enough about this. This is one of those things that I think is a hidden gem, a hidden secret. If a student's spending 10 minutes a day on Khan Academy, they're going to be really well prepared for those SATs. With SATs, there are fee waivers available. And this is going to be really important for you as students. Talk with your counselor if you qualify for free and reduced lunch. Please come and talk with us. We can get you access to those SAT and ACT fee waivers. And again, if you qualify for an SAT or an ACT fee waiver, That also means in your senior year, you can qualify for some admissions fee waivers. So really important, if you do happen to qualify, you come and talk with us so we can help you get set up to get those fee waivers. And I'll hand it back to Ms. Vogel for closing words.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Troche. Thank you all for bearing with us. I know it is a long evening. There's a lot of information in here. Hopefully you found it all extremely valuable. Something that I kind of want to make sure that we are thinking about is you don't have to make a decision today. Today was the start of the information overload for right now, maybe, but it's just the start of your journey. So remember, take a breath, show yourself grace in that journey, and start having those conversations, whether it be with your parents and families at the dinner table, or if you guys want to try and take a day trip on one of those Mondays we have off to some of our local colleges because we have so many. These are all things that I hope your brains are just kind of turning and ready to start this exciting process. I want to take a moment and thank our wonderful presenters who've taken the evening to give you their wealth of information and their wealth of knowledge. It is always amazing to be able to hear directly from them what they are looking at their universities, what they are encouraging you guys to do, and just getting that straight from the source. Again, registration season will be starting for our juniors very, very soon. And with that will come more information. We'll talk about your counselor questionnaire. We'll talk about SchoolLink some more, and just be with you every step of the way. So don't feel like you're alone in this journey. We are absolutely with you. If you have any questions, we will keep the chat open for a minute. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for joining us.